objective is to analyze the paradigm of the warrior Messiah as it appears within the prophetic text of Isaiah. In the first century, messianic expectations in Israel focused on the conquering figure of Isaiah 63. This focus largely overlooked the chronological requirement of the suffering servant introduced earlier in Isaiah 53. Isaiah 53 describes a Messiah who suffers at the hands of the people. In contrast, chapter 63 depicts his return in absolute glory to execute judgment upon the nations. This analysis follows a strict sequential exegesis of Isaiah 63, focusing on verses 2 through 5. The prophecy centers on Edom and its principal city, Bozrah. These locations function as a field of blood, representing the historical enemies of God. This imagery is rooted in the long-standing enmity between the descendants of Jacob, representing Israel, and the descendants of Esau, known as Edom or Idumea. This historical rivalry eventually formed a prophetic archetype, where Idumea serves as the proxy for all earthly opposition to divine will. The tension between the suffering servant and the solitary judge defined the messianic expectations encountered in 34 AD. The sequence of these prophecies suggests that the failure to recognize the transition from sacrifice to judgment shaped the theological conflict of that era. Isaiah chapter 63, verse 2 states, "Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine-vat?" This circular stone pit and mosaic floor comprise an ancient winepress. In this agricultural setting, workers physically crushed grapes underfoot. During the harvest, the escaping juice stained the garments of the workers a deep crimson. Isaiah adopts the mechanics of the winepress to define a battle motif. The stained garments represent the blood of Israel's enemies, citing the historical destruction of Edom as the primary evidence of divine justice. The winepress imagery links the conclusion of a harvest to the execution of inescapable unilateral divine judgment. Isaiah chapter 63, verse 3 states that the Messiah has trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with him. Absolute solitude is a theological requirement for this action. No other nation or entity possessed the moral standing to participate in this specific judgment. This timeline identifies the conceptual gap between the humble birth described in chapter 53 and the glorious return in chapter 63. This solitary action corresponds to the narrative in Revelation chapter 5 regarding the sealed book. Because no mortal or nation was found worthy to open the seals, the Messiah executes this judgment autonomously. The isolation of the figure in verse 3 serves as a strict legal requirement for executing righteous judgment upon a fallen world. Isaiah chapter 63 verse 4 states that the day of vengeance was in the Messiah's heart, and the year of his redeemed has come. The day of vengeance is tied to the historical, multi-generational betrayal of Israel by the Idumean people. During the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem in 586 BC, the Idumeans allied with the invaders to loot the city and capture fleeing Israelites, as described in the book of Obadiah. This specific betrayal resulted in the prophetic condemnations found in Isaiah 21 and Isaiah 63. A second irony occurred during the Roman-Jewish War of 70 AD, when the Idumeans reversed their alignment and supported the Zealots inside Jerusalem. In 68 AD, 20,000 Idumean soldiers entered Jerusalem, causing massive internal anarchy and the death of many Jewish leaders. When the Roman general Titus destroyed the city and the temple in 70 AD, the Idumeans were annihilated or absorbed into other groups. The erasure of Idumean identity following the destruction in 70 AD serves as historical validation for the vengeance prophesied in verse 4. Isaiah chapter 63, verse 5 states that the Messiah looked, but there was none to help, and he wondered that there was none to uphold. This search for righteousness parallels the story of Diogenes of Sinope, the ancient Greek cynic. Diogenes carried a lantern in daylight to search for a single honest man. Similarly, the Messiah finds 0 righteous allies among the nations. This moral bankruptcy was evident in the leadership of Judea during the 1st century, specifically within the Herodian dynasty. The Herods were Idumeans forced to convert to Judaism. They maintained power through political manipulation and Roman support, rather than divine mandate. The Herodian rule was characterized by the elimination of rivals and a ruthless consolidation of power. The presence of this corruption confirmed that human institutions were compromised, requiring the Messiah to bring salvation through his own arm. This section addresses the final implications of the text. The eschatological judgment of the nations is linked to the historical betrayals of Edom. The Messiah is the sole figure morally qualified to enact this justice. The judgment of the winepress and the day of vengeance act as the prerequisites for the arrival of the year of the redeemed. This sequence leads to an era where the saints acknowledge the sovereignty of the Lord, free from the archetypal enemies represented by Idumea. The solitary warrior of Isaiah 63 establishes the necessary conditions for this redemption. This concludes our overview.